Thank you.
Senator Lujan.
Good morning, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, our ranking member. Thank you both for holding this hearing. Dr. Tierney, thank you for being here. To every one of you, thank you for being here as well. Governor Edwards, honored to see you as well, sir. Dr. Tierney, among the many important roles that you have held, I see that you served as Assistant Secretary for Policy at the Department of Energy. In that role and other roles that you've held in the energy sector, I assume you, like me, you came to recognize the important role of our national labs, not just for the country, but for benefits around the world. And as you know, New Mexico is home to two important national labs with Los Alamos National Laboratory and Sandia National Laboratory. Dr. Tierney, my question is, can you share with the committee some of the ways that our national labs help protect our nation's critical infrastructure?
Thank you for that great question. I'm really happy to talk about the great national laboratory network that we have in the United States. Of course, you mentioned the two in New Mexico. They are probably very well known for their contributions to the nation's national security, but they also have done tremendous work on energy infrastructure issues. I think in particular of Sandia's work on cybersecurity and making sure that the nation's energy infrastructure is more resilient, as well as capable of withstanding attacks that are predictable, going to happen all the time on the nation's electric infrastructure, for example. Sandia is a great example of that. North of New Mexico in Colorado is the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. I have the honor of serving as their external advisory committee chair. They do tremendous work on analyzing the potential benefits of a regional electric system where there are better interconnections between the region, allowing for much greater diversity of electric demand and electric supply. I could go on and on, but the nation's labs are truly jewels. Their support by Congress and appropriations through the Department of Energy's many offices is critical to the nation's infrastructure.
I appreciate that. Well, I'm going to ask you to go on, Dr. Tierney, and with my next question, which is related to our national labs. But do you agree that finding solutions to climate change, such as designing climate-resilient infrastructure, is a responsibility that we should invest in at our national labs, given the material science, the planning, the modeling of oceans? And it turns out for the national security missions of these labs, they need to know what's happening and where the wind blows for obvious reasons. But can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. The R&D capabilities of the labs that span quite basic science on materials, strength, and capacity to withstand different stresses, all the way to deployment of infrastructure and all along that supply chain is extremely important. The labs are very well known for their basic science work, again, on high energy physics, but on practical infrastructure issues, the materials work and analytics that are done make their way eventually into private industry, into the hands of companies that are actually putting infrastructure on the ground. So I didn't know this question was coming, and I love hitting it because they are truly essential to the nation's energy security and national security.
I appreciate that, Dr. Tierney. Now, Dr. Keenan, I appreciate that you included in your testimony, and I quote, "The Southwest U.S. faces upwards of $1.4 trillion in lost GDP between 2022 and 2050 due to risks and costs of projected water scarcity challenges." Senator Padilla was asking you many questions in this particular area, talking about climate-smart technologies, precision agriculture, soil erosion reduction that can result in some of these practices, minimizing fertilizer applications. If we had more modern infrastructure, precision agriculture, what that means as well to contribute to reduction with some of the devastation we see with climate as well. There's many efforts that many of us have been working on together, But Dr. Keenan, yes or no, in order to avoid the $1.4 trillion impact in the Southwest economy, do you agree that we urgently need to provide rural America with the tools and technology to adopt to climate change progression?
Yes.
Well, I appreciate that, and there's some other questions I have. One, a few, Governor Edwards, that I'll submit for you as well. But, Mr. Chairman, I want to be mindful of the time as well, and so I'm going to yield back, but I'll submit the rest into the record. I really appreciate you all being here and all the things that you do day in and day out. Thank you all. Thank you,
Well,
Chairman.
Mr. Hergott has set the record for rapidity. Dr. Keenan has just set the record for brevity. Senator Merkley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all to your testimony. I was thinking about an event last year where I'm at National Reagan Airport, and